Good afternoon, everybody. We're here today with another My Living Media podcast. Today we have Dom Bella Plumbing. Folks, thank you so much for being on. I
Thank you for
appreciate
having
you
us.
coming out. Can you tell me a little about your company and who you are?
So we are Alex and Sandra Perez. We are the owners of Don Bella Plumbing. We've been in business since 2017, and we are a plumbing company specifically geared towards residential home service.
What are some of the services that you offer?
So some of the services that we're going to offer are, water heater replacement, repair, pretty much anything to do with your home. If your home has a plumbing issue, we can handle it. Faucets, water treatment, toilet repairs. Something doesn't flush right, something doesn't drain right, we can take care of it. If you got questions about the quality of your water, we can handle that. Your water heating issues or needs, we can definitely address that, take care of that.
Okay.
It's pretty much just top to bottom fixtures, Sometimes something doesn't go wrong, but people just want to change things. They don't like the way the fixture looks. They want to change it. No problem. We can do that too. Remodel, we can handle that as well.
Okay. I might be calling you for that. I need to move. We're changing. We have one of those bath fitters.
Oh,
And we're just going to make a stand-up shower, but
Yes.
we're going to want to move the plumbing.
yeah,
So
definitely
I'll
take
give
care of
a
that
call
for
on
you.
that. So you talked about like water filtration systems.
Yeah.
So let's dive into that a little bit. What kind of
Sure.
stuff in the water? I understand that in Florida, probably other states too, but in Florida, I know the water is really bad, right?
Right.
So what are you guys looking for? What kind of contaminants, what kind of, I guess I would say, what kind of crap is in the water?
So what we have in the water, first off, it's important to remember that Florida is basically a giant swamp, right? So when you're up north and it rains, the water naturally filtrates through the rock. And once it hits the bed, it's naturally filtered. Here it's just, hits rotting vegetation in the ground. So that's part of our problem. The other part of our problem is going to be as the water is just delivered from so far away, what we have is you're picking up contaminants that are naturally in the piping delivery system itself. Copper, magnesium, nickel, things like that naturally picked up. We've got the most important thing to remember is the city delivers their water to your home, they're treating the water. They used to treat it with chlorine. Now they have to add ammonia to the mix, right? Biggest reason is you've got contaminants in the water. Chlorine's not enough to kill them anymore, so they had to add ammonia. That product is actually called chloramine. So with chloramine being introduced to the water, now you've got something that is not good for you. I wouldn't give you a jar of chloramine and say, "Here, drink up. You look thirsty." The city's also not going to tell you, "Hey, we've got this stuff that's not good for you," but
Right.
we got to kill the contaminants in the water. So that's a big one. It's very corrosive. Leads to a lot of slab leaks, copper water leaks in the ground. Insurance companies in Florida know this very well. So that's one of the things that you definitely want to get out of your water. In addition to your standard things, you want water that tastes better, you want water that smells better, and you want water that doesn't look yellow when you fill up your bathtub. Water is supposed to be clear, not even supposed to be blue. It's supposed to be clear. I know out in Port St. Lucie now they started adding dye to the water to make it look more blue.
Oh,
Fun fact, right?
that's fun.
Right. So, water filtration is actually going to eliminate all that. It's going to treat the water. So not only do you get water that can taste better, look better, it doesn't smell as bad, but we also have filters that can remove those contaminants out of the water. Remove the hardness of the water, at least isolate it, so it doesn't stick to things like your water heater. It doesn't cake up underneath your faucet, thereby extending the life of the fixture itself, including the appliance. Not just your water heater, but your dishwasher as well.
So would that help? Two questions on that. One, I was just replacing the aerator on my faucet in my bathroom sink.
Yes.
Would the filtration system help? Because when I pulled that thing out, I mean, there was so much on there.
Right.
I was just like, is this what, like, I'm brushing my teeth and all this is going inside?
That is
So does
absolutely
water
what you're brushing your
filtration
teeth
help
with. Yes. So
Okay.
one of the things when we install a system like a full system ideally is going to have, number one, a sediment filter, right? So this is going to catch all the loose garbage, right? Dirt, sand. If you're open the beach, you do have some sand in the water. If you're out in tradition where the new homes are being built, we're seeing a huge need for water filtration out there in the tradition area. They shut down the water main, they cut into the water main, they tap in the water main just to be able to get a new block some water. Dirt and everything goes in, and then you're getting half. You can usually set your watch by it, right? Because once a month you get that phone call, 3 houses in the same neighborhood. I have no water in my bathroom. You get there, you open it up, bam, there's all the stuff, right? You flush it all out. You're coming back to do water heater maintenance in a year, and the water heater is just catching all this dirt, all this shell rock, everything is just right at the bottom of the heater. And of course, that's killing water heaters, and inside of 2 years, water heater's dead.
Wow.
So a sediment filter is going to stop all that. Now we're getting down to the molecular stuff, right? The stuff that you really can't see. And that's where the rest of the filtration system comes in. A carbon filter is going to solve that problem of smell, taste, and color, right? And then the other tank is actually going to take care of all the hardness of the water. Now, let's talk about that. Everybody knows what a softener is, right? But nobody wants to deal with having to drag, go to Home Depot or you go to your local grocery store and you've got, you got to drag 4 bags of salt.
Yeah.
It's heavy, especially for the older clientele. It's hard to do that. It's hard to remember. So now you got a maintenance issue. So on city water, the other tank that we install is a treatment tank. And what that does is it's salt-free softener. That's what it does. It takes all the hardness and it essentially isolates them. I don't have a PhD in water quality here, if you will, like the people who manufacture this stuff, but it works pretty great. So essentially it's taking the hardness, it kind of puts this ion around it, right? So that it doesn't stick to your plumbing, right? Number one. And number two, it doesn't stick to any of your fixtures and it doesn't stick to your appliances, such as your water heater or your dishwasher, or if you have it, your Insta-Hot that's underneath your kitchen sink. Some people have those, soup or tea or coffee on demand. You can just pop that sucker open and get some really, really hot water really quick. You don't have to boil it. But that's all the stuff that you can do with water quality, and that's just a quick little synopsis there.
Okay. So the other thing that you had mentioned was with everything that they're pushing through, that it corrodes the copper piping that's underneath, right? So my home was built, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago.
Okay.
How would you know that's happening?
So chloramine is going to definitely be there, right? So if you live in pretty much any city, right? If you're out on the countryside or something like that, if you're on well water, that's a different animal. Then we're looking at things like iron and sodium and stuff like that, mostly iron. But if you're in a municipality where the city's actually providing it for you, bet your bottom dollar there's chloramine in there. Now, you have one side of the coin, which is, what is this doing to my plumbing? But if your home was built with CPVC or PEX type A, preferably Uponor, right? You don't have to worry about it putting pinholes in any of that stuff. But now you've got the other side of the coin. You shouldn't be drinking this stuff. You shouldn't be brushing your teeth with it. So really, really quick, some people will say, hey, I've got bottled water, so I'm good. I don't drink that stuff. Mm-hmm. I buy bottled water. Number one, that can get costly, right? And number two, you're not really solving anything. You're still brushing your teeth with it. You're still bathing it, right? And the largest organ on the human body is what?
Your skin.
It's your skin.
Oh, okay.
It's your
All right.
skin, right? A 5-minute shower is equivalent to you drinking 8-ounce glasses of water. So you're like, oh, but I only drink bottled water. Great. That 15-minute shower that you like, right? When tough day at the office, you get into that hot tub, you get into that, your soaker tub, and you're like, I just need a glass of wine, a candle, some music, and lay down in this water for 30 minutes. Guess what your skin's doing? It's absorbing everything, right? So water filtration is going to solve all that issue. You can really have peace of mind, right? So the other thing is, like, as we get older, right, we're like, I don't care anymore. There's
Yeah.
McDonald's will kill you before the water does, But then you have a baby, and you're like, you want to protect your baby from the world, right? So usually new moms are like, oh, water filtration, and it's great for your skin as well. It's really going to do wonders for your skin
And your hair.
and your hair, right? And then also your detergents that you're using in your home. Most of your detergents, right? So you go and you buy your fabric softener, you buy your dishwashing soap, your shampoo, your conditioner. Most of it is literally a softener because for the hard water. Now, when you get these water filtration systems put in and it's working properly and it's balanced, you might find that you don't need as much detergent to wash your clothes. You're going to find that your shampoo lathers up really well, right? You're using less of it because it's lathering like you wouldn't believe. It's because your water's already soft, right? So to where before you needed, for example, a cup of your laundry detergent, you might want to choke that down to about half a cup now.
Really, that much of a difference, huh?
That much of a difference. If you can, there's studies and stuff online. 75-80% of that bottle, 75-80% of that bottle is just dedicated to softener.
Wow.
That's it. Just soften it up because we got such hard water.
It's kind of
So,
crazy when you think
fun
about
fact,
it.
right?
Well, and then if you think about from a financial standpoint, from a homeowner, right? Okay, I might have to put this system in, and it might cost me a little bit more money. But
Right.
if I'm using less of my detergent, of my shampoo, of my conditioner, then I'm saving money there, right?
Absolutely.
So in the long run, it's healthier for me, and I'm going to be saving money.
Yeah, and the money saved with not having to replace your fixtures
Right.
and your appliances.
Yeah.
Again, in the tradition area, you got water heaters dying in less than 2 years. And I say dying because they're leaking. It's not like they stop working and you can fix them. No, the tank is gone. It's leaking.
Really?
Yeah. So now we're reaching out to the manufacturers, putting in warranty claims. And a homeowner who just bought their home is 1 year out of warranty. Now they're paying out of pocket, for this labor. Why? Water filtration is going to solve that problem, right?
That would be real frustrating as a homeowner. 2 years in, and I'm having to replace the water.
Right.
I wouldn't be too happy about that.
No, let's face it. Most homeowners are going to spend pretty much everything they have in their savings just to get their foot in the door.
Yeah.
And it's going to, if we're honest, it's going to take, 5-7 years to recoup that, And here you are a year, 2 years later, now you've got to eat a new water heater. Like, the heater itself should still be under the manufacturer warranty, but you still got to pay the plumber to put it in.
Right.
Not to mention the inconvenience of walking out one morning, you jump in your golf cart, you're going to go play a round of golf, and guess what? You have to put that on pause now because you've got a relatively new appliance that should have lasted you. Of course, with proper maintenance, there's no reason for you not to get 15 years out of a tank-type water heater.
Yeah.
With proper maintenance. Yearly maintenance like you're supposed to. That's the first thing, is nobody maintains their water heater like they're supposed to. The second thing is nobody thinks, hey, water filtration, that's a waste of money. I don't need that right now. I buy bottled water anyway, right?
Sure.
And then they're surprised when they wake up one morning and here you are, less than 2 years, the water heater's gone.
Wow.
It's time to replace. So now you've got an unexpected expense.
Wow. So, speaking of water heaters, since we're on water heaters.
Yeah.
Question.
Sure.
Tankless. Which way do I want to go?
Let's talk about needs.
Okay.
And let's talk about budgets, right? If you ask me, I'd say tankless. Hands down tankless. In a perfect world, tankless, whether it's electric or whether it's gas. I love gas tankless water heaters. Everything should be maintained. This is an appliance, right? And the biggest issue you have is a lack of maintenance. People will invest that money and not understand why it didn't work. It didn't work because you didn't maintain it, right? But it's absurd for you to drive your car, and some people go in straight panic mode, right? When the car says engine oil due, you're like, oh my God, it's going to explode. I got to get it in. I got to get it in. But nobody pays, nobody pays attention. So nobody pays attention to that, right? Nobody pays attention to when the water heater, they think that it's in the corner. Let's leave it there.
Forgotten.
It's forgotten. Like, this thing is lonely. Nobody sees it. Nobody talks to it. They bury it with the canoe, and all the Christmas decorations are jammed up in that corner, right? And they, man, where's this water coming from? It's that thing. You just sat there lonely, and it died 5 years later because you ignored it and you never treated it. So there's a couple things with that. If I'm having a new home built, I want a tankless, right? With the understanding that it does need to be properly maintained once a year, right? And it does need a pre-filter. Again, I'm going to stress that. Every water heater, whether it's a tankless or tank type, needs to have a pre-filter.
What is a pre-filter?
So a pre-filter is going to catch any junk coming into the water heater,
Okay.
right? So a tank type water heater needs to have a pre-filter to keep the junk from going in. Now, you have a tank type water heater, and tank type water heaters have what's called an anode rod. It's also known as a sacrificial rod. Let's YouTube it, folks. It's a sacrificial rod. It's called that for a reason. First off, you didn't treat the water coming into the house. A sediment filter just catches debris. It does nothing to treat the water. So now you've got bad water in the water heater, and now it's being heated up, which is going to change the water. And once it does that, it eats away slowly at that sacrificial rod. Once that sacrificial rod is gone, it's got nothing left to eat but the tank itself. Right? Then you're calling Don Bella Plumbing 3 years, 4 years later, going, I don't know what happened. Well, I've got a pretty good clue what happened. You didn't change the oil in this thing. But that rod should be, it depends, some municipalities and others. Some you pull them out, you can tell they're worn, they need to be changed every year. Some you can go every 2 years, right? And then, of course, there's a thermal expansion tank, which does go on a tank-type water heater. So you may have that water heater, looks like it's got that gallon sitting up top. Mm-hmm. Some people think, oh, it's a pump. It's not a pump, right? It is literally there to absorb any thermal expansion. Water gets hot, it expands. Tank-type water heaters are not designed to take any pressure over 80 psi, right? So it's 80 pounds per square inch. Some municipalities, you've got 65 pounds coming into the house. Now you heat that water, that tank is doing about 90 pounds. It's being stretched. Mm-hmm. So that thermal expansion tank is going to absorb that, right?
Okay.
And every time that heater gets replaced, that little thing should be replaced as well. And realistically, those things actually, within 2-3 years, the bladder inside gets punctured, fills with water. It's useless. So in a perfect world, every 2 years, you're changing the thermal expansion tank and you're changing that anode rod. And that is how you get a tank type to last you 15 years. Take care of it.
Okay.
That's the one side. Mm-hmm. Now we've got the tankless side, right? The tankless, because it heats up water so fast in such a short amount of time, that needs to be descaled. There's a solution that we have. There is a solution you could use with water and vinegar and stuff like that. I never liked it because I am a plumber, not a mad scientist. So I'd rather buy something like Armor. It's a company that actually makes a descaling solution, right? And then what we do is we'll come out, shut the system down, power it down, run the solution through it, descale the heat exchanger inside, make sure all the components are working. Once that's done, we flush everything back out, bleed the air out of the system, put the system back itself back in service. Why is this important? I've seen tankless water heaters that are a year old, just a year. That's it. I go to the customer's house, I feel like I was there yesterday, telling them, hey, you should have that. They go, no, it's okay. Thank you very much. It'll just be the toilet for today, please. Right? You feel like you're going to the grocery store and they're asking you to donate. You're like, oh, nope, that's just a ham and eggs, please. And it's like that, right? And then the water heater's only 2 years old. It's not working. I've got no hot water. I call up the manufacturer. They say, hey, take it apart. Take a picture of what's inside and send it to us. I'm like, okay. You take it apart, send a picture. Then they're telling, because you have to do this on tech support with them. Like they're on the phone with you. You take a picture, you send it to them, and they go, not covered. Why? Heater wasn't maintained. Poor water quality. So now the customer who just spent that kind of money 2 years ago is now staring down the barrel of something that they were told would last 10, 15, 20 years. By the way, a tankless water heater will outlast a tank type with proper maintenance, right? That's the disclaimer. With proper maintenance, it will last. When you put it in the corner, you just ignore it, right? And you let it die on its own in the corner. That's what's going to happen. So it needs to be maintained. But again, that brings us full circle to water quality, right? So.
Yeah. So when people are maintaining it, I mean, so if you install a tankless water heater, I'm sure before you leave, you're letting them know, look, we have this warranty on it, but you have to maintain it, right?
Right.
You're not just walking away. So people should know when they have that installed that this is how we keep it up. This is how we make this system last.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the things we'll do is with every water heater we install, we're calling you. We're calling you probably, the month before?
We call the month before.
Before our wonderful anniversary. And we're like, hi, listen, in a month, it'll be our anniversary. And to celebrate, we'd like to come over and maintain your water heater. Please call us and schedule that up as soon as you can, right?
Okay.
So that's very important. And one of the things I'd like to kind of put out there, people may be watching, kind of researching the water heater bit, is we've had people say, hey, I'm tired of the tank type. I want tankless. With gas, you can do that. With electric, you can do that. However, now the expense of doing that in order to convert from electric tank to electric tankless, it really does go up a bit. And the reason is now we have to bring in a licensed electrical contractor because you've got to convert the electrical requirements over, right? The electrical requirements for a tank type water heater versus a tankless, depending on the unit, could be 2 or 3 times what it takes to power a regular tank type. It's still more energy efficient, even though it takes three times the amount of power. It's still more energy efficient, and that's because it isn't constantly heating water, even though nobody's using it, right?
Okay.
But when you do use it, it's a draw. It really needs some juice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, you've got the plumber's permit in the process, and now you've got the electrician's permitting in the process. So usually when you factor that in, people go, yeah, no, I'll stick with the tank type.
Yeah.
Unless you really want the space and you really you like the convenience, or if the tank type just isn't keeping up with your demands.
So in my case, right?
Right.
Now, I probably wouldn't do tankless because now you're telling me there's an electrician that's got to come in and all that. But would it make a difference? So when I turn the hot water on, I have 3-bedroom, 2-bath.
Right.
My master bedroom is on the far side of the house.
Right.
I've got to have that water running for a while for it to get hot. Of course, in the kids' bathroom, it's instant, right? So
Right.
Does it make a difference with the tankless? Would my water get hot faster if I had a tankless?
No.
Okay.
Right? See, the good thing is we can put a man on the moon, allegedly. We can solve your hot water problems, right? So, depends if you're a flat earther, right? Like, we never made it to the moon. I don't know if we did or we didn't. Just a disclaimer. I wasn't there. That was before my time. What I would say is, let's talk speed versus need. A tankless water heater will give you endless hot water. Okay? For as long as you're willing to let it run. That could be 5 minutes. That could be 5 hours. It's just going to keep heating. But you still have what's called a sandwich, right? So if you can think of an extension cord, right? When I plug it in, I've got power, but that's because the power is running through that cord so fast, it makes it to the other end almost instantly. Water's not going to do that. Water has a given speed depending on the size of the pipe it's in, depending on the amount of pressure coming into the home or going through that pipe. That's going to dictate whether or not that hot water is going to get to your master bedroom in 30 seconds or 3.5 minutes, right? So for you, sounds like you're more in that 3.5, 4 minutes. Like you're going to go home and set a timer. You're going to be like, all right, nobody touch nothing. Go, right? So the way we solve that is by introducing a recirculation system. We take your water heater. Do you have a tank type or a tankless?
Tank.
A tank, right? So we would install a recirculating pump over on your tank, right? And what's known as a crossover valve over in the master, the furthest fixture. Okay, so that's a small valve. It would go underneath the cabinet in your master lavatory, right? That's your sink. So I'm pretty sure you do that. But it goes underneath there, right? And then we'll set a timer. So typically, hey, you're up at 5 o'clock in the morning, right? But you guys, the house is usually busy and you're in bed, let's say 10, 11, 12. That's your night shower. We'll set that pump to turn on at 5 o'clock in the morning and turn off at midnight. We do want the pump to rest, right? And what that's going to do, it's actually going to take the water or the cold slug. That cold water that is laying in that pipe because nobody's been using it, so you have thermal loss, okay? So that water is going to cool down. As that water actually cools down, right now what you're doing is you're opening the faucet, letting it run, right? And flow rate plays a big deal too. Because if you're just turning on your faucet in your bathroom, just your hand sink, that's a half a gallon, right? Or less. It could be a 0.25 gallon a minute, right? But if you got some good flow, you're a half a gallon a minute. You're letting it run for 3.5 minutes, which means every time you go to take a shower, you're paying for and dumping 1.5 gallons per day per person, right? You got the missus and the master, right? And then when your kids feel like they really want a nice shower and a big shower, they're going to use that one too, right? So now we've got anywhere from 3 to 4.5 gallons a minute per day being wasted. You're paying for that water, by the way, right? A recirculation system solves that issue. Because now when you're turning on the faucet, your hot water is there in under 30 seconds. That's a win, right? If you're having a home built, you would go to them and say, hey, I want a recirculating line installed, right? And you still have to install a recirculating pump over by the water heater. But that would eliminate the need for that valve, that crossover valve, or comfort valve, if you will, underneath your lavatory. Like the line would go in the wall. More importantly, I'd want that line tied into my shower, right? Because if we install that pump and we install that crossover valve, you still have to wait for the hot water to get from that sink to your master shower. Usually we're talking a 10-foot run, right? So usually it's less than 30 seconds it's there, okay. So that's how we solve that. Quantity, right? If you have a big soaker tub, most homes have it. The kids end up using it as an indoor swimming pool. Nobody really uses it unless you had a banger of a day. If you have a standard 40 or 50 gallon water heater, tank type, you're going to run out of hot water before you get enough before you get in. It's just not enough. We have a solution for that. It's called a tank booster. A tank booster goes on top of your tank type water heater, and what it does is it allows your 50 gallon water heater to produce the same amount of hot water as a 75 gallon water heater, which is now considered a commercial size water heater, right? And it does that. We can take the inside of it, raise the temperature, right? And all it is a mixing valve that goes on top. We take your water heater from 120 degrees Fahrenheit, we crank that bad boy up to 140. Once you crank it up to 140, you've got scalding hot water. But two things are happening. Number one, it's killing any bacteria buildup that's in the water heater now, because the water's too hot. It can't survive in 140 degrees. So that's a plus. It's killing any bacteria that's in the water heater. But as it's coming out, you've got a bypass valve that's coming in, throttling it back down to a safe temperature of 120 degrees, right? And you can also adjust that. Hey, I like it a little hotter. I like it a little colder. There is an adjustment on there. We can adjust that down for you. So now you're able to fill up that tub pretty much to the top, and now you can have that glass of wine, that candle, right? Grab your iPad, your murder mystery, and just don't fall asleep in the bathtub, man.
That's interesting.
It's a lot of info on water heaters.
Yeah, but you know what? That's great, because I think what a lot of people do is they just they'll just like go on YouTube, right?
Right.
And they'll start researching these things, and these are things that I wouldn't know. So
Right.
It's nice that you can actually break that down for me.
Sure.
And let the public know what it
Yes.
actually is.
Yes.
Right? Because I think a lot of people would assume, okay, well, if I go tankless, because if you Google it, it may actually tell you that tankless is going to help this problem. So it's
Right.
nice to have a pro come on and say, well, no, that's not really, I can sell you a tankless. Yeah, sure.
Sure.
But it's not going to help your problem.
Right.
So I love the information.
Yep.
So something else I saw that you guys had is for drain cleaning.
Right.
I believe it was called hydrojetting.
Right. So hydrojetting, hydro scrubbing, right? Let's talk about maintenance, right? So we spoke about maintenance of the home as far as your water heater goes. Same thing happens with your drains, right? So one of the things that your insurance company will do is, God forbid, right? Somebody's main line backs up. Water comes out from the toilets. It's almost like a geyser, right? It's spilling out over the toilet, under the toilet. Bam, it flooded the house. One of the things your insurance company is going to be looking for is, okay, do you have any records of your system being maintained? This is part of the system. Most people go, no. Now we're in trouble. The claim may or may not be denied, whatever that, that's between them. But how do we avoid that to begin with, right? How do we avoid that 2 a.m., I'm washing clothes. I didn't even realize my master shower's filling up, and now it's flooding my bathroom. How do we keep that from happening? And now those are your drains, okay? Again, people they have these pipes, the system that is underneath their home, and they forget about it. What do? You wash your clothes. You do your dishes, you poop in it, you do all that stuff. Depending on your background, we like to cook a lot, I'm guilty of it. I'll take all my bacon grease and go right in the kitchen sink.
Same.
But to be fair, I have the equipment to clean my lines once a year, so I can clean them out. No big deal. I don't care. Like when it backs up, I'm like, it's almost like an experiment for me. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and let's see how long it takes before it actually just kind of and chokes out on me, right? So that's usually about a year and a half is when you're like, okay, that's enough bacon grease. All right, but then I'll pull out the machine and we'll get that taken care of and cleared out. But the best analogy we could give you that I've been able to come up with after darn near 30 years of doing this, well, I think it is 30 years now.
Yes.
Oof, dating myself. I would say it's like a clogged artery, right? So some of the older listeners could definitely know what I'm talking about. You have these pipes that are running through you. When you're young, they're flowing, everything's moving. As you get older, you get that buildup, right? So as that buildup starts to choke down the inside diameter of that pipe, two things are going to happen. You're either going to have a heart attack or your plumbing system's having a heart attack, right? Nothing's draining, nothing's flowing. So maintenance with that, with the hydro scrubbing, is the first thing I would love people to understand is that there's a difference between drain clearing and drain cleaning. A lot of companies out there will advertise, hey, drain cleaning. They're not actually cleaning the lines. They're just using it because the industry has used that term for so long that people readily identify it and say, oh, that's what I need. Drain clearing is when I've got an issue, my drains are backed up, and I run a typical wire snake through there and poke a hole in it. I made the water go down. To the customer, the problem is solved. No, you've taken care of a symptom. You made the water go down. That's not the problem. The problem is there's 15, 20 years of bacon grease and soap and abuse, not only from you, but from the previous homeowner as well, in that line that has taken this artery and choked it down, right? Now the water went down. A year later, 6 months later, it happened again. So that's drain clearing. Drain cleaning is when we go through and actually scrape the walls of that pipe clean, either by mechanical methods, okay, such as a flex shaft, which is wall-to-wall cleaning, or hydrojetting, because mechanical means are only going to do so much. So the hydrojetting, or hydro scrubbing, if you will, is when we actually go through the entire system, the underground system, with not only the sewer camera to make sure that this thing is cleaned, right? So you cleared it, you made the boo-boo go down, but now we need to clean it. And how do you know you clean it, right? You can swing at the piñata blindfolded, but how do you know all the candy's out?
Right.
You got to be able to see. So that's where our rigid sea snake camera comes in. So it's a 3-part process. We have the rigid sea snake camera, which gives us eyes inside. We have the wall-to-wall cleaning of the rigid flex shaft. That allows us to get the bulk of the stuff. And then we have the hydrojetter. And the hydrojetter is a wonderful piece of equipment. I want you to think of it as, everybody knows what pressure cleaning a driveway is. We're pressure cleaning your drain system.
Okay.
So now you're like, okay, now it's clean.
Yeah, yeah.
You can get out there and scrub with a brush and soap all day long, right? But is it really clean unless you hit that thing with a pressure cleaner?
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah.
Right. So that's what hydro scrubbing is. It's pressure clean, does not damage the pipe inside at all. We control how much pressure goes into that pipe. We control the means. We got different nozzles and stuff like that. But the biggest thing is we can actually verify beyond the shadow of a doubt 100% that the system in its entirety has been cleaned. And we do offer a 1-year stay clear guarantee with that service, because we do understand that you need to do this every year, folks. You don't need to jet it every year, but your house needs to at least have a once over every year. Have your professional licensed plumber come over. Let's put a camera in the system. Let's make sure it works. Now, plumbing, unfortunately, is one of those things where people neglect. You know what they don't neglect? Their car.
Yep.
They don't neglect their AC, right? One night without air conditioning, you're like, oh boy, right? You'll never let that go without maintenance again. You're like, oh, let's call that guy. Or your
Yeah,
exterminator, right? You see one roach in the house, you're like, oh my God, I got to get him here, right? But you have no idea what's happening in your plumbing system. You got bugs in there. You got roaches in there in the city sewer. How do they get into your house? Well, when the homeowner has Handy Andy come over, right, or a truck in a truck, all right, and he comes over and he goes, hey, we can hook this up. You don't need no P-trap. That's just jargon. You don't need that. And you're like, why do I have roaches in here, right? I've had that. Again, 30 years. I've had customer go, hey, funny thing, I flushed the toilet in the master, And as I'm walking by, I get a strong whiff of sewer gases in the hall. Well, let's look in there. Let's see what happens. Right? This customer in particular I'm thinking of, it's her and her husband. They only use the master. The shower, apparently, is where they put all their suitcases. In the master shower. They do not go in there. The P-trap underneath the shower dried out. Right? So every time you flush it, you get that sewer gas coming out, and they're having to explain to their guest, hey, I don't know why it smells like that in my house. Sorry. Let's go this way. Oh, don't use that bathroom. Nobody uses it. It's just for storage, right? Guess what I found when I lift up the toilet seat? Oh, baby. There were so many roach eggs in there you couldn't believe. What did she tell me? I was wondering, the exterminator couldn't figure out how they got in. By the way, I got the call because an exterminator says, I'm boned. Call a plumber. See what's going on with your system. I can't figure it out.
Wow.
And what happened? They just had a system that they didn't use. Right? I had another customer over at Savannah Club. Right? At Savannah Club, they had a handyman come over and install a vanity for them. Funny, ever since that vanity got installed, now they've got roaches in that bathroom. Can't figure out why. You really want to scare somebody? Let them turn on turn on the light in the middle of the night, right? Well, they're headed to the toilet. Guess what's there waiting for them? It's a big old cockroach.
Yeah, we don't want that.
So, no, you don't want that. So what happened? Handy Andy came over, right? Truck in a truck. He came over, installed a vanity. No P-trap whatsoever. None at all. A P-trap is a water seal that keeps gases out, keeps insects out. In addition to that, when he ran the water lines, he drilled holes that were too big right through the floor. Didn't seal them up. So guess what's coming in? Right? You got bugs and stuff coming in.
Yeah.
And that's the importance, again, of having a licensed and insured professional to come in and do things the right way. You try to cut a corner to save a buck, ends up costing you more money in the long run, right? My mother always had a saying, right? My mother's saying was, and I'll translate this for you guys, lo barato siempre sale caro. She always said that, right? Cheap things always end up costing you. It always ends up being more expensive in the long run. The same thing is true with your car, with your home, even with your health, right? You take your health and you're like, hey, the internet says I can take this pill and I won't have this thing anymore. Then the doctor says, well, what were you taking for 2 years? I was taking this pill. It worked great, didn't it? No, it didn't. Now you'll be on this other medicine for the rest of your life. Don't cut a corner just to save a buck. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Hire a licensed professional. Absolutely.
Awesome. And I think that's important too, because I think there's a lot of handymen out there that, they may know, okay, I know a little bit about plumbing.
Right.
I know a little bit about AC. I know a little bit about this. But I think there's certain things that you just really shouldn't touch unless you're a professional. One of those things I believe is plumbing. Right. Another one is electrical and AC work.
Yes.
Those are three to me. Like, I'm fairly handy. I won't touch any one of those.
Right.
I don't care how many videos you watch. There's just something that might be behind there. It's a craft. It's a profession. Let the professionals handle it.
Absolutely. So there's a reason, and handymen, not paint them all with the same brush. Mm-hmm. But what I would say, if I could, if I was in front of a handyman convention, right, and there's 100,000 handyman, they're all got their pitchforks and their torches ready for me, right? I would say, guys, just don't overstep your boundaries.
Right.
There's a reason why the state says you need to have a license to be a plumber. There's a reason why the state says you need to have a license to be an electrician. There's a reason the state says you need a license to work on air conditioning. There's a reason you need a license to build a home, right? However, there's no license needed to put tile down. There's no license needed to patch drywall. There's no license needed to paint, right? These shelves, as long as they're not holding up anything structural, there's no license needed to do that, right? Play in your sandbox. Don't try to do other people's. Don't try to jump into somebody else's sandbox, right? Some guys can do it. Most guys cannot,
Yeah.
right? I know a little bit about electricity. I don't play in that sandbox, right? Because I don't want the headaches that comes with it.
Yeah.
More importantly, I want to make sure that I can sleep at night knowing that I didn't wire something up. I'm going to get that phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning that my customer's house is on fire. I don't want that. So I stay in my lane. I play in my own sandbox. And I say, hey, call a licensed electrician to take care of that, right? Call your AC guy to handle that AC. We don't play in other people's sandboxes because we're not licensed to do so.
So what's one thing, if somebody's watching our podcast, they're new
Right.
to the podcast, they don't know who you guys are, what's one thing you want them to take away from this podcast?
I would say we care. That would probably be it right there. We care. It's tough because this stuff's important. But anyway, it's community, right? We run into our customers at the grocery store. We run into them having breakfast,
Literally.
So, literally, right? They're yelling at you, hey, Alex. You're like, oh, my God.
I didn't do my hair.
Where do I know him from? But it's community. We take care of people. We've gone above and beyond for some of these customers.
Almost sometimes like therapist, honestly. We're on the phone with them for an hour talking about
Yeah.
their problems because they're stressed out.
Yeah, you're like talking them off of a
Yeah.
ledge. But not. And the thing is, it's not just about plumbing. They'll talk to you about their children, about their grandchildren, about, unfortunately, their spouse that just passed away. They'll talk to you about their first marriage and they're on their third marriage. They'll talk to you about anything. And when you do that, the fact that we have customers that feel comfortable opening up to us, I think says a lot about our team. It starts from the moment you Google us and you call 772-222-5570. Plug, right? From the moment you call in, you're met with a warm, caring voice. And the first words out of her mouth are, sure, I can help you. Right? Man, that right there, we do help. We don't send somebody out to your house just for the sake of sending somebody else out to your house. We really don't. We got customers that call in and say, hey, my main line is backed up. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump on Google Earth. I want to see what your house looks like. Why? Because if you got that big old green lid in your front yard, I'm going to tell you, walk outside. Is that thing bleeding water? If it is, call the city. Now you don't need to pay a plumber. That's money saved.
You do that a lot.
That's money saved.
So they
You
don't
call
have
the city,
to.
they're out there within the hour, hopefully, most of the times. Not all the time, but some of the times. They'll get out there within the hour, open it up. That's their system. They take care of it, maintain it, right? That saves you money. Call me when you have a plumbing problem.
Yeah.
And we'll get you taken care of, right? There's times I go out there and I look at it and say, okay, that's the problem. Here, I got good news for you. You don't have to pay me today. Bad news is, you didn't have to pay me today. But call the city, they'll come out and take care of it, Man, I can't tell you, man. We've done everything from play therapist with customers to talk to customers to here, take some food with you. we genuinely, I think we gotta. I think our customers really like us.
Yeah.
They really do. They like us, and we like them.
And we also call just to check on them. Like we
Yeah.
have like older customers that I know they're by themselves, and we just call and say how you're doing, everything's okay, like just to check up on them because we know they don't have any family here. So,
Yeah.
Things like that. We do care about our customers a lot, and we do show it.
And that's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
And I can really appreciate that. I think there's so many businesses out there that are just, it's all about business, right? But I
Yeah.
think if you care for people, if you care
Yeah.
for your customer,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get further doing that
Yeah.
rather than you go
Yeah.
out and you see that it's a city problem, but you say, you know what, but I can still check this, and that and get a service charge on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? So you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be that
No,
company.
you don't. And there are some people that are like, look, I'll pay the service charge. Just come. You're like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the stories, man, some customers are just unforgettable. The love stories, the
Oh,
lost
yeah.
stories, the excitement stories, there's something cooler, there's something cool when a customer calls you and you get there and you find out that, they're your kid's teacher, or
Yeah.
they're the principal at that school, or they know somebody and the best ones for me are like, hey, yeah, you were recommended by my son or my daughter or my mom or my dad. That means we did the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
We did the right thing.
I love it. I love that you guys are doing that.
Yeah.
So, Don Bella Plumbing,
Yep.
because they care, right? So that's how I look at it. After everything that you told me,
Right.
I think that's what really drives home for me, is that you guys care. You want to do the right thing, and that's in this day and age, I can really appreciate that. So let's tell everybody, how do they find you guys?
Well, we do have a website, donbellaplumbing.com. We are all over social media, and we do answer our messages as well. And you can contact us at 772-222-5570, and text us there too. If you don't want to, talk to somebody because you're at work, you can also text that number, and we can book your appointment there too. So we make it easy for you guys.
Definitely would say give Don Bella a call next time you have a plumbing issue. Like I said, Don Bella, why? Because they care.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for being out. I appreciate
Thank you for
your
having
time.
us.
Thank you.
It was fun.
Um,
It was fun. We'll do it
Anytime you
again.
want to come back out, come on out.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Absolutely.